Welcome back to the Milk Critic Show, everybody. This is episode 2 for my 1965 Dodge Dart project. In case you haven't seen the other episodes, a few years ago, with the help of my brother and my father, I swapped this Dodge Dart onto a BMW E90 chassis. It was a base model BMW. It was a 328i with the N52 gas engine. And in this episode, we're swapping in a turbo diesel from a 335D. So I have two main goals for this episode. Two main goals for episode 2. First one being I need to fix all the rust, all the sheet metal. We're going to undercoat the bottom. Everything is going to get fixed. No more rust. And when I mean rust, I don't mean the surface rust, the patina that I love so much. I'm talking the cancerous rust, the stuff that rattles, the stuff that's falling apart, the stuff I can poke a screwdriver through. So fix all that. And my second goal is to hear this engine run. At the start of this episode, the engine wasn't even installed. It was basically a bare chassis. And by the end of the episode, you'll see how it sits now, running, driving. And I also got some new wheels that I'm excited to show you. So stay tuned, enjoy the episode. Thanks for tuning back in, everybody. Really appreciate it. Yippee! Woohoo! Yeah!
When I was a little guy, I always thought maybe I could be a spaceman or something when I grow up and go to space in a rocket, but you got to be able to see really good to do that job. And so they take one look at me and say, "Oh, sorry, sir, you got to be able to see a little better than you."
Next step is to fix these quarter panels. I really didn't want to fix these. I actually really like the way they look and the fact that you can see the wheel through the rust, through the quarter panel. But the rust has gotten significantly worse. The driver's side was like about to fall off. And I found some patch panels that were pretty cheap. I decided I could probably match the patina, and if I can't, I'll just make an art project of it. So we're gonna fix the rust on these quarter panels, and yeah, I used some new tools, some new techniques that I haven't used before, and the panels came out perfect. Like, hardly need any body filler. I'm really proud of them. So here you go, I'm gonna show you. The trunk is done. It's dusted. I can make a cross off my list, not think about it anymore. Now that the bottom of the car is painted, I can switch gears a little bit and start reinstalling parts. So I already got the fuel lines on, brake lines. We're gonna install the fuel tank right now and the rear subframe, but things should start moving pretty fast here. I'm sure some of you noticed that I welded up the factory fuel fill location. The BMW fuel fill, this plastic kind of chintzy one, used to kind of just stick out the side, kind of awkward, with like a little rubber gasket around it. And I really didn't like the way it looked, so I'm going to change it. I got this nicer aluminum, it's a flip top, kind of like a cool, just a cool looking gas cap. And I could mount it here, but I'm not really in love with it. I do think it would be cool up further here, maybe where the GT badge is. And I also think it'd be really cool on the roof, which I know is kind of weird, but imagine this thing slammed pretty low to the ground and just like shoving it in the top. I think that would be cool. So either way, the line needs to come through the wheel well and up into the cabin. So in order for the fuel filler to go through the wheel arch, I'm going to use this little piece of 1.5" exhaust tubing, kind of like a bulkhead, and I'm going to weld it into the wheel arch, something like this. And the fuel fill will come up from the tank. It's all plastic, factory BMW. Will come up from the tank, and it'll fit just basically touching this, and I'll have a rubber coupler that goes over it. And then inside the cabin, it'll be rubber tube all the way up to the fuel cap, as well as a vent line. So both the fuel fill and the vent line need to come through the wheel arch. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I'll show you how I did it right now. Something like that. I'm gonna put a little piece of tape on there to hold it. I will say, as I weld this, the fuel fill is not connected to the fuel tank. It's bolted, so I know it'll fit, but I didn't want to weld and have little sparks go into the fuel tank, because there is fuel in there and that would be bad. But should fit something like that. Super clean, super tidy. I'll cut a little piece of rubber hose, just a hose clamp on either side. I did check. I cycled the wheel travel up and down. The wheel is got a good 2 fingers from here, and at full bump it's got at least a finger with the tire on, so it should be okay. And as well, this is the vent line. I'll probably route it up something like this, similar with the same style bulkhead. But yeah, I'm gonna put the ground clamp on top and we can get this little piece tacked in. I wanted to share this just because it's a little weird, and I don't know, I don't usually share some of the more fiddly bits, but I thought this was pretty fiddly, and I thought the solution I came up with was pretty tidy. Make sure to get this all painted nice, but yeah. I'm about ready to drop the engine in, which is pretty exciting. I think it's gonna look pretty good in here, and it's also gonna be really nice to get it off my floor. But 2 things before I drop the engine in. I noticed some oil was leaking underneath the engine where I had it sitting over here. And I didn't really investigate any further until now, and the oil pan is cracked, probably from the accident. I looked, a new oil pan is like $500, so it's not too bad of a crack. I'm gonna weld it up and weld a doubler plate on it. And then the other thing is the flex pipe on the downpipe is broken. So that the little flex joint to absorb vibrations is cracked and is probably gonna leak exhaust. So we're gonna have to weld a new one of those on, and yeah. I'm hoping to have the engine in by the end of the day, so pretty exciting. I got a new, bigger, upgraded intercooler. This one was smashed, and this wasn't much more than an OEM one. And there's quite a bit more surface area this core here, so should help with power a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna have to trim up the front under bumper valence thing a little bit to make this fit. Should look pretty cool. I think you'll be able to see it from the front of the car, which I think will be cool. But we're gonna get this installed. I got the intercooler installed. You can see it just poking out beneath this valence here. And two things. The intercooler is almost the lowest point of the car now. It's not, but I still think it just is prone to probably getting smashed on speed bumps and things. So at some point I'll build an aluminum skid plate, and I'd also like to rework this whole valence. It's really thick and just kind of crude. I think it'd be really cool to build a new one with maybe some integrated fog lights, as well as some really nice ducting that ducts air straight at the intercooler. But that's for the future. Yeah. I think it's finally time that I can fire this engine up. I just changed the oil, the exhaust is installed, the radiator's installed, it's all topped up with fluids. I'm pretty stoked. Just a couple weeks ago, this whole car was a bare chassis, and hopefully it's gonna start here. So I have not tested anything, I have not fired it. So I haven't even hooked up the battery. So I'm sure there's something I've forgotten. But I'm gonna take you along with the journey here. I'm gonna connect the battery right now, and we're gonna see what this thing does. Okay, the dash is on. I'm getting some noises here. Okay, I think everything's plugged in. I'm gonna put my foot on the brake here. Pretty nervous. My battery was a little low, and I think the ground is also not great. So I just used jumper cables to put another battery up closer to the engine. And we'll see if it cranks now. I think it should. I don't see why it wouldn't. It's gotta have some vacuum leaks or something, but that's crazy. It's pretty quiet. I know I'm shouting, but I'm gonna give it one rev. I just want to hear it. Whoa! Yippee! It's too easy. It just fired right up. It's a little smoky in here. I better get out of here, but great news, gang. Great news. It works. My entire ownership of the Dart, all the way back to when it was actually a BMW, it's been on this set of wheels. These are just the factory base model 328i wheels. They're 16-inch, and to be fair, I never really liked them, but I can't run them now, even if I wanted to, because these diesel brakes are so much larger than the base model brakes were. So I needed at least a 17-inch wheel, and I found these. These are factory BMW wheels from an X5. They're 18-inch, they're called Style 69s, which is just an added layer of coolness. But I'm a sucker for a 5-spoke, and I think these will look really good. They're 18 by 8, I believe, like ET like 40 or something. But for tires, I got some 245/40 snow tires. It is the middle of winter here, and I'm gonna be driving this thing, doing some nice diesel donuts in the snow. So I got some nice snow tires, and yeah, I'm excited to see what they look like on the car. I'm also really excited to get this car off its jack stands and see what the ride height looks like. So yeah. A couple weeks ago, I got a super cheap tire machine off Facebook Marketplace, and it's gonna make it really nice and convenient getting these mounted. So we'll get them mounted up right now. Woohoo! just want to say thank you for joining me on this episode of the Milk Critic Show. I'm really stoked with how the Dart is coming out. I think it's going to be pretty sick. But the next episode is going to be all about the interior and the upholstery. Yeah, a little sneak peek here. This is a Porsche Houndstooth fabric, and these are the BMW seat covers ready to be reupholstered. So yeah, I'm excited to show you guys what it's going to look like, and thanks for tuning in.